shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you. So please, don't hide, just say I'll be there if it breaks, right beside you. Suddenly I know now how it feels. I no longer have to beg or steal. I can stand now on this higher ground, where love is just a sound, where love is...
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday morning. Welcome to Coffee and Cresties. It's been a really weird week, a very long week, a really tiring week. Lots of stuff going on. Weather's been very strange over here for us. I mean, it goes really hot, then really cold, lots of rain. Big shout out to all those people in Toronto that are dealing with a lot of flooding. It's kind of scary to experience and to see. So I hope that many of you that have been dealing with it and have been impacted didn't have too much damage to your homes or to your properties. Wishing you the best and hope that that's the last of the terrible weather for the season. It's been slow here. We finally got hatchlings. So this year, I think I have about 20 eggs right now in the incubator for the season, and kind of impatiently waiting for them to hatch. I dropped the temps this year by 1 degree. Just to see if it would improve and change a little bit on the structure of the hatchlings when they come out. And so far, I haven't noticed much of a difference. I mean, that they're a little bit bigger. That's really the only thing that I've noticed. And for the record, I'm at 23 degrees Celsius. Sorry, I don't have the conversion for my American people. And the eggs are hatching at, the first two hatched at 99 days. And I wasn't expecting the next one for another 7 days because of when it was late. It was a week later. But that one of them hatched yesterday. So that one's a little bit sooner. And got some empty backs in the house so far. So empty backs, 2 empty backs, lavender empty backs. It's looking. And I'm just kind of looking over because they're over here. Sorry. And then 1 phantom. So phantom head empty back. So we'll see when the 4th one comes out. If we have anything a little different, but that was one of the main focuses for some of our projects this year was empty back, head empty back, lily white stuff, some phantom stuff, soft scale stuff. So we'll see what happens, but it's exciting, always exciting, and always nice to wake up in the morning to a little gecko hatchling. So I hope everyone's doing great. Let's see who we got in the chat this morning. I know it's tough on a Sunday. I probably picked one of the worst times, but especially in the summertime when everyone wants to do activities and such, right? Or are sleeping in from last night's activities. Forward Motion, good morning. He's always in here bright and early. And East Valley, good morning, Chris. And we got Greenscape in the house. And Greenscape is actually our guest today. Very excited to talk about some really cool stuff that, the expo that he's helping put on, or actually basically organizing. And Tammy's in the house. Good morning, Tammy. Happy Sunday to you. Hope you're doing well. And then we got my hubby in the house, VIP Morphs, Gerald. You might notice some of them have wrenches, so I finally decided to kind of be a little bit more serious about things. So we gave some people the power today. Cassandra D, good morning. How are you today? And then we got Northlands Exotics in the house as well. Good morning. Aside from that, exciting hatchlings and still doing the gym. It's a struggle. I don't know if any of you have had to experienced that struggle of being out of the gym and not being active for a long period of time and getting back into it, but it's definitely hard to get back into a routine um, and to really push yourself to do a positive change and to be active. We get so used to our routines and Netflix and chill and trying to shake it up a little bit. I think what we'll do is we'll jump into the first segment and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, so it's been kind of a weird week. Be honest, there hasn't been a lot of positivity this week, but there's some stuff that I think would be fun to highlight. I did notice a couple people posting Canadian breeders that are planning on going to the expo in the States. I'm not sure if it's just to attend or to vend. I looked at the vendors list and I haven't seen any Canadian breeders that stood out anyways on the list. And I haven't got confirmation anyways from those that I've reached out with, whether or not they were vending. So maybe I'll know more into next week or over the week where I can post on the story and kind of promote that. I think that's really neat. I know here in Canada, we have our big CRBE expo in Toronto that's coming up. And it'd be really neat. It'd be really nice to be able to start maybe engaging and having US people come up as well and be involved. So it is kind of nice to see that there are some Canadians that are going to be potentially going over to the States. It kind of shakes it up a bit, right? So it brings something different, and not everybody necessarily has the ability to import or bring something new that they want. Because of the cost. I mean, at the end of the day, it is expensive to do an import, and and not everyone necessarily has it in their budget. So I think it's kind of neat if we do have breeders that are going to be going across the border and bringing in some geckos and having the ability to offer these geckos to people in the States. That's awesome because makes it a lot easier for people to get their hands on it anyways. Second piece of positivity for the week is going to tie into our next segment. And I think it's really awesome to see the amount of interest and people that are participating or going to be participating at the Ottawa Valley Reptile Expo. It's a new expo. It's just brand new, starting from scratch and really trying to get people engaged and taking part. And it's really nice to see how much interest there is and that there's a lot of people in the community that are coming together to support this event and that they're going to be there vending. I'm not certain 100%. I don't believe that I personally will be vending, but I will be in attendance. So I will be there. I'll be promoting the shit out of it. I will be doing some videos, some lives, and really doing my best to highlight all the people that are participating and that are going to be there. And I think that that's a pretty good segue into our guest segment today. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Good. As good as you can be.
Been up bright and early this.
Yeah, I couldn't get any good sleep last night or in the morning.
Yeah. So everyone, we have Quentin from Greenspace Geckos in the house today, and he's going to be sharing with us all the awesome stuff that's going to be coming down the pipe. Now, first, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and who you are, where the name come from for your business, where are you located? Let's get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. So we're based out of Deep River, which is way up north in the middle of nowhere. For most people, like the biggest thing near us is Chalk River, which is the nuclear plant or ex-nuclear plant now. It's been closed down. It's a big controversy down.
Oh,
Everyone
yeah.
south of it has a big controversy over it's whatever. I mean, I'm north of it. I don't care anymore. I'm upriver. um. So yeah, and then we really only started this actual business side of this about 2 years ago. But I've been keeping reptiles myself for about 12-ish years, plus or minus some.
Okay.
And it started with just for the fun of it, and then I got into helping out at a rescue when I lived in Barrie, and then I kind of went downhill during college. I didn't keep as many, and I ended up starting back up once I had my own place, and I was free of roommates. I had the benefit of having your own house is you can do whatever you want. So
Yeah.
right now we're in an upstairs room, and hopefully in the next few months it'll be downstairs and it'll be a lot bigger.
That's awesome. Yeah, my husband, he wants to make a point. He says, he lived in Deep River for 6 months.
I'm sorry for that.
Yeah. We apologize that you had to live there. No, Deep River is a nice place. I've heard I personally have never been, but I've heard great things, and it's funny because, I grew up born and raised in the east end of Ottawa. So when we moved out and my husband as well. So when we moved out to Smith Falls, everybody kind of, was like, oh, that's like the end of the world, it's like so far away. And like I remember the first time when I was younger going to like the Hershey factory, because that was like the big thing in Smith Falls when you were younger. And it seemed like such a long drive to get there from Ottawa, right? And now you do it every day and it's a commute. It's like
Yeah,
you get used to it. It doesn't seem that bad anymore. Yeah, he says
no, that's us
it's
in
quiet.
Canada. All Canadians are like that. You talk to Europeans, they're like, my family's 45 minutes away. It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
You're like, if Canadians were like, our family is like 6-7 hours away. We'll go there every weekend.
Yeah, right. Or you'll have like people that are commuting, like they'll commute over an hour to get to work each way.
I
And it's like,
commute almost 45 minutes as it is because I work
yeah,
down in Pembroke. So yeah, I didn't pick a close place, but I mean, affordable housing is affordable housing.
yeah, exactly. It's the great thing about where, this country really it's just you have condensed spots with cities, but there's just so much green space, right? Like there's so much, which does add to driving, but
Yeah. And it's not even the furthest north I've lived. I lived up in Churchill for a while.
okay, wow.
That's about as far north as I want to live in my life, and I was good up there for a bit. No more polar bears. Nothing beats
Yeah,
having to wake up in the morning.
the
Into the
further
bear.
north you get, the colder it is for the longer for a longer period of time as well, right?
Yeah, temperatures haven't gotten much better out there.
I bet.
Um,
So how'd you come up with a name for Greenspace Geckos?
Honestly, it was one of those names that we sat there for a bit, and we're trying to come up with a name for our business, and I'm like, I want something like I wanted green in the name just because like I deal with a lot of plants, which you can see off to the one side.
Yeah.
And I also I like bioactive setups, and I would like in the near future when I do all these tanks to have them all bioactive, fully planted. And I like that greenscape or greenscape pace. And then the geckos just kind of came along with geckos.
Yeah.
So it was one of
Came with
those
the
names that took
territory.
us a bit to figure out. And once we did, it's like, oh, I like that actually. I'm going to stick to that.
That's awesome. Cassandra's saying, Northern Ontario here. She's located in Sault Ste. Marie.
Oh, I got
It's
friends
gonna
up
be an 8-hour drive to go to CRB. Well, excited to see you there. You'll have to come by, stop by at the booth and say hello, Cassandra. That's a good drive. I know ours is from where we are, it's and Gerald's gonna correct me. I think it's like around 5 hours, but I mean you make the stop as well, right? Like you do the halfway stop.
Don't drive it straight. I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done 20-hour drives. You don't need to drive it straight.
Yeah, then we have a lot of a lot of northern people in the house. Timmins here. That's right, Northland.
Yeah,
Representing the north.
proud and
So,
strong.
right? So you decided to organize this Ottawa Valley Reptile and Plant Expo. And I'm going to pop this up here so people can see what we're talking about if they're not sure. So how did this come about?
So way back when I was living in Barrie, I'm like, there's no like small expos nearby, and this was actually it was, I think, the only small expo at the time that I knew of was Peterborough, and still to this day I'm not sure what else is there down there. So I was getting there at the time, like way back then, and I was thinking I would like to have like start my own expo. It's like it just doesn't feel like there's enough. And there are big bulky expos that just don't really feel like community. Because like you can build your little community in there, but it's just there's so much going on. You don't get that chance to really have that community aspect of it as well. So I started thinking about it, and over the last few years I've been too busy and I haven't it's a big it's a big commitment to figure this all out.
It's a huge undertaking for sure, yeah.
So in the last 2 years after I got my house and I got my animals mostly situated and I got myself situated, I went now or never, because this is the best time I have energy still. I'm young enough that I have the energy, I have the time. And I'm like, when was it? It was back in this winter. I was thinking about it more, and then I started sourcing venue and started piquing the interest of seeing if people are willing to come, and then see who's actually willing to vend. Because that's a two-edged thing you got to figure out. You got to make sure there's people to come and people to actually sell, or otherwise it's just a one-man show. Yeah. So after I got that figured out, I got talking with the local pet store, and they were telling me how they think there's enough people to actually have an expo. They've been wanting to do an expo, but like me, they also don't have a lot of time, energy to put into an expo.
Yeah.
So
it's not out there. It's going to be awesome. So, okay. Yeah. Talking about, there's not many out there. Yeah, I think it's going to be, it's an exciting event because like you said, it is a smaller event, and the expos, like the big expos, can be a bit daunting when you first get there, right? Especially for like a new breeder coming in wanting to vend for the first time. It can be it's a huge, it's a huge expense for one to really get the booth set up for that size of a venue. When you're going to like a larger expo too, you're looking at, more cost involved to be able to vend and to, to partake. And
commitment.
It is a huge commitment, yeah, for sure. And I think that, it's nice to be able to have alternatives for people to kind of just get their feet wet and to be able to come and learn and participate in something where it's less stressful, maybe less daunting, right? To have a smaller venue and be able to have that opportunity, like you're saying, to build that community and to connect with other people and make those relationships.
Yeah. And exactly. And we have so many new people that haven't vended big expos or at all. Like this is their first expo. I think there's at least 3 people. This is their first go. And that's great because, I mean, how else were they going to start?
Yeah. And you have some people too that are also that are, the OGs, right? That have been at all the expos. Like you have Rosemere, for instance. I mean, Rosemere does all the expos, and they even do Comic Cons. So they're out there. They're trying to get to as many things as they can. Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I think it'll be kind of a good learning opportunity for other people too. Seeing that there's people there that have been in the game for so long that they can kind of, share that. That knowledge that they have and be able to kind of guide through, doing their first expo. Or Tammy says the introverts like myself always feel very overwhelmed by big events. Yeah, I hear you, Tammy.
Yeah.
It's definitely it can definitely be stressful when you have a big place to go to and lots of people to like kind of, navigate through. Good morning, exactly. Shauna. So I have a little banner here. I'm going to keep it scrolling at the bottom because you sent me a list of who's the confirmed vendors so far. And I think it'd be kind of nice for people to kind of see who's partaking. So how are you finding it, given that it's a new expo? How has the organization of this been? Like, how are you finding it? Like, a lot of people are being very supportive and it's being fairly, going a lot smoother than you anticipated in getting vendors, or has it been a bit of a struggle? How are you finding that?
It initially it was a little bit of a struggle because a lot of people go, that seems not like it's just not there. Like they don't feel as confident in it. So
Mhm.
you had to build that confidence first. So a lot of people I had because it's the first time and I knew like it wasn't going to spread easily. So I went out and reached out to a bunch of vendors, people
Okay.
that I either have talked to at expos or have met in the past or done business with, and I just
Mm.
pestered them until I said they'll come. Not even
Yeah.
like most of them were right away. Like King and Queen was almost instantly first 2 days. JNC, they were also like from the beginning. I was talking to them about ideas for how to organize it.
Mhm.
Um, Rogue
Well, and
River
I
Geckos also was a big conversation with them a lot.
yeah, and I also think too, like if you have some breeders that um have like a more focus on certain species that might not necessarily be ones, like for instance, that you can even bring to the Ottawa Expo, or that aren't easy to transport or so on, like this offers an opportunity and a venue for them to be able to come out, because I think King and Queens, they do like really large snakes, right? So that's
Yeah,
like they wouldn't be able to go to the Ottawa Expo because there's bylaws against being able to bring very
like
large snakes
80%
into
of their
Ottawa.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But it's neat because now there's an opportunity where people can go and see their booth and see what these snakes are about, right? Not saying that absolutely everyone needs an anaconda necessarily, but
No,
it's still, even for educational purposes as well. And it does give a venue where they can go and share, what they have and what they're doing. So with all the venues that with all the vendors that you're having, what are people looking to see? Like what type, like list I know you sent me a list of
I
animals.
sent you a
Maybe we
list,
can
and
go
I'm
through.
trying to remember what I sent you. There's a lot. There is really a lot. You know what? I'm just gonna do it off the top of my head and hope I don't miss anybody. Cresteds, of course. We're gonna have a lot of tarantulas actually. Miller's Imports bringing a fair bit.
Oh, that's
A
awesome.
good selection of them that, of course, you can't find at the Ottawa Expo.
Yeah.
I believe he also is bringing some scorpions too. So
Okay.
it's just weird. Like it's just something that you would never see in the Ottawa Expo. And actually, as far as I know, I don't think you get that in the Toronto either. I think they have some regulations against scorpions.
Yeah, the scorpions I think is a little bit more of a difficult one. The tarantulas, they definitely have quite a bit of tarantula vendors, but yeah, you do see some people looking for certain scorpions and going to the different tables to see what they have. I know it's not as
Yeah, it's not
common.
everyone's cup of tea, but
I have
they are
Howard
cool.
right back here, my Asian forest scorpion.
Yeah, those are cool. I like those ones. I wouldn't. I don't like the small ones because I would rather stuff that A, I won't easily crush, and B, like
Yeah,
smaller they are, often a little more potent the sting on them are.
yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting. We
I guess you'll
have
have hog noses too, because they're rear
yep.
fang, right? So that's something that's I can't remember
we-
whether or not they had them at the Ottawa Expo. So hog
I
noses,
think they
boas.
were allowed, but I don't think there was very many people selling them. So we have somebody
Mhm.
bringing hog noses.
Okay.
Um, we have pine snakes. I know King and Queen will be having also go. I think that's gophers snakes as well.
Okay.
There's the African fat tails. I think somebody's bringing leopards. Um, yeah, there's just a bunch. I can't even list them all off the top of my head.
There's gonna be quite a variety, right? Going
Be a
from,
wide variety of animals that you don't get to see everywhere and as often.
yeah.
And I tried to
Well,
make sure like I'm not overstocking with one type of animal, trying to keep that variety diverse.
yeah. Um, I'm gonna probably think that it's a no, but I'm curious. Is there anyone coming that's gonna have like tortoises? Because that's one that you don't see much of, I find.
That's one I actually not 100% certain. I know
Okay.
some people that are coming have tortoises that they have
Okay.
produced. They didn't say it on their sheet if they're going to bring them or not. So
Okay.
I would hope that they do because tortoises are awesome. And I
Okay.
think King and Queen have brought tortoises in the past. I just don't know if they have any available right now.
Gotcha.
But no, I really would love if people bring tortoises too.
Yeah, and
Maybe
you're
I'll put that in
also
the post, be like, please bring tortoises.
yeah, trying to recruit people. Was it hard to navigate the bylaws to understand what can be allowed to have and what cannot at the venue? Yeah, because here's the thing, it's so different. It's tough, right? In because here, like you'll have bylaws. Like I'm in a township, and my township might be completely different bylaws from another township that's literally starting 3 streets over down the road. And so how do you find like how was it with for this one for bylaws?
Philo is actually one of the biggest things I had to figure out first because you go the Ottawa Valley, like upper here, up this way in Renfrew area, it's just the bylaws are archaic. A lot of them, like Pembroke, basically you're not allowed any exotic pets.
Yeah.
There's a handful of them that they allow, and they only are just adding to that list.
Okay.
Petawawa is the same. There's a very limited selection. So Renfrew was the obvious pick because it has the widest normally allowed selection. And then after talking to bylaw and confirming with them, because you obviously have to have a conversation. Also, I want to double check permitting, which thank goodness there wasn't any surprise permits to add to the cost. Um, they they told me that they didn't write in their bylaws that the sale and the possession and transitory possession
Mhm.
of them was illegal, but the keeping of certain animals are prohibited. So
Okay.
you can bring animals that are prohibited as long as it's not being sold to people in the town.
Gotcha.
It's kind of weird, but like, I mean, bylaw told me, he's like, nobody's going to police everything. It's up to the individuals buying to buy responsibly, which it always
Well,
is.
and that's what it is. Like at the end of the day, like if you're living somewhere and you're not allowed to have an 8-foot boa, then you shouldn't have an 8-foot boa, you know? Like it's
Exactly.
and I think this is a good conversation to have as well because I think people forget that. They think that they can just have what they want.
And there's rules for a reason too. Like there is some animals that do not do well. Like I mean, we're up in here in Canada, so a lot of crocodilians are off limits just
Yeah.
by proxy. Because I mean, however much we all love to have a 16-foot tub in the basement full of crocodiles, you just can't.
You just can't. And
You can
their
have
weather
one.
just won't allow for it outside. I mean, at the end
No,
of the day, it's just, unless you're gonna build a nice big facility out back that it's gonna have indoor crocodile facility. But yeah,
I
no, I
mean, we
hear
all
you.
love to have the 100K to be able to do that, but I mean, we're in Canada. We
Yeah.
don't have the
And
100K.
land is expensive to buy to build in the first place.
Yeah, cheaper up here at least. I hope that we'll eventually move into a property where I can have a little bit more outside.
Now watch it. We'll touch base again in 5 years and you'll have crocodiles.
I mean, I would love to, but I know the girlfriend Maddie might not appreciate the. She's like, nothing that can hurt or kill you. Seriously, I'm like, well,
Right.
we'll see where we end up.
So, you're having vendors at the event. You're also at the expo, so you're also having. I guess you want to talk about some of the activities that are going to be taking place.
Yeah, so I was wanting something to happen on stage, and I was trying to figure out, and I'm like, well, I could get a live band, and that would be cool in itself, but it's not much to it really. And then
Hmm.
I was thinking, you see all those videos of skate building competitions,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that would be really cool to have a skate building competition or at least a demo on stage to show people how to build skates. Because
Hmm.
I mean, for people who do it, it's really easy, but for most people getting into it, they don't even understand where to start. They don't know. They think it's too complicated or too hard. It's too much work.
Yeah.
And some of them are, and like there is valid reasons for why some are harder. But it is really like not that hard once you see it. And a lot of people will see videos online, but when you see it in person, it's so much more, makes more sense. You get to
Yeah.
look at it different angles, you get to see it, and I'm getting the people that are participating to explain it out a little bit too, what their process is. And for people to see it from start to finish is really going to help people like understand how these things happen and hopefully benefit overall care for the animals they keep,
That's
as
awesome.
well as um, the vendors benefit because people see these skate buildings and they get inspired.
Yeah. Oh, and see, oh, I can make that. It's not as difficult as I thought. I think with escape building too, it's more a matter of it can be people are maybe afraid that it is really something that takes a long time to do. And I think when they're seeing like it happening in person, they're like, oh, okay, maybe, it's not as scary of a
Yeah,
project to take on, right?
exactly. And I mean, there's bigger skates that do take longer, but
Yeah.
like we're planning at this point to have these skates built start to finish in the time of the expo. Just shows that
Okay.
one afternoon you can figure out how to build a skate,
Yeah.
basically.
So you're not looking at like water features where you got to make sure the silicone's working and like,
Well, I mean, if those people want to figure it out beforehand, I would be glad for them too. That's all
yeah.
the power to them situation.
So who's doing the build off?
So we have Exotic Addicts and
Okay.
two people from them, Jonathan and Marie.
Yep.
My name is pronounced, but nobody come after me. Anyways, so they're building off of what they've built, and I think we've talked about pictures of them. And then the Microverse, which is a small YouTuber who's from Ottawa, actually, and he's produced a lot of really cool builds. And I got chatting with him, and I was like, "You want to do this?" He's like, "Absolutely." Didn't take much
Yeah.
convincing.
So
I
we'll have a
mean,
little video here. I'll pop up so people can see, what we're talking about with scaping and what to expect. Microverse sent us a video, so I'll share it. It's about a minute long, but it's really neat to see. You really get to see a variety of different types of terrariums, right? And so
that he's
enjoy,
built.
guys. Yeah, that he built himself. So it'll be really neat to see it in action in person. So I'm gonna pop it up here. Mm. The ones with the water features I always found super like they're so cool. That's
Yeah,
something I would like to do at some point. Like, so I have a Brazilian rainbow boa, and I've heard like they'll go into like water and they'll hunt fish and like not just eat, the rodents and stuff. It would be really neat to do like a big, huge enclosure where they actually have a nice little water area that they can go in because they love to spend the time in the water and seeing some of the other ones too that he does. So he does, I guess, even just terrariums without,
yeah, just
not
plants.
the
And
reptiles.
I think he told me there was isopods in those, but
My
yeah,
husband is telling me no. No, you are not doing a big
100%
enclosure for
you
your
need to
boa.
do that. You need to do a 10-foot with a 3-foot water feature. It's just and a little waterfall coming in.
You just wait, Gerald, when we renovate the house and we add an extension. I'm telling you, it's going to be a wall. and it's going to be beautiful.
What you don't tell them is why there's a little bit of a weird space, like a closet, and you just don't mention what that's going to be in there.
Yeah, what's going to be in that space. So with the oh, he says flooding in the basement. No, we'll do it in the living room over on the it's on ground level. We will be fine. There's no flooding where it's going to go. You're stressing about nothing. Um, so with the enclosures, so what's going to happen with them afterwards? Like, is there an ultimate goal aside from the educational aspect, right? Of course.
So these are we're hoping to have 3 enclosures auctioned off afterwards from this. So they're going to
Okay.
build 3 enclosures in total, and those are going to be silent auctioned off after the event. Well, during kind of like after the build,
Mhm.
and people are going to be able to bid on them. And the money from those are fundraising for Exotic Addicts for their fire, but also for Galaxy Reptile Rescue in Ottawa,
Okay.
and they've
Yeah,
done great work.
these guys are Galaxy here. So it's for Galaxy and I know when we last talked it was just Galaxy, but now it's Galaxy and it's also going to be for Exotic Addicts.
Yeah, it's for both of them, but Galaxy is kind of the bigger takeaway.
Okay.
Exotic Addicts will get some too. It's a I feel bad for them for the fire, and there's nothing I can do for them other than this.
Yeah. And that's what it is, and that's the whole point of community and being able to help each other, right? Is, sometimes other people are impacted by certain things and you look at different ways to be able to support them as well, right? So are they going to be auctioned off during the same day? Is it going to be like over
The same
a period
day,
of
and then
time or?
no, it's going to be the same day. But if they don't all sell, like I'm going to put a minimum on them. I
Okay.
will just be giving them to the people involved, so Exotic Addicts and Galaxy. They
It
can
might
do
be
what they
worth,
want with these stores.
yeah, it might be worth also maybe opening the options too by doing Instagram lives because I'm not sure if not everybody necessarily would be able to make it out, but you might have people from Montreal or Toronto or other areas that would be able to come in and pick up the enclosure um,
Yeah,
that
for sure.
may want to bid on it, and they can't be there.
I've thought about that too. I was like, it would be nice to open it up wider so that more people had the chance.
Yeah. No, that's
It
awesome.
gets confusing when it's those live things, so it takes a lot of. I didn't want to say it right away. There's a
Spill the
lot of
beans a few
nuance
times.
to it.
Try to figure out how we can do that, yeah, and see if we can, the wider audience, the better chances you have to get those enclosures, get more bids, and at the end of the day you're helping out people, that you're helping out Galaxy, you're helping out Exotic Addicts, so that's awesome.
It
um
really helps them
be-
out.
Before we move on to your geckos, is there anything else that you want to talk about for the expo?
It's not one thing we haven't touched on yet is it's not just like a reptile expo. There's going to be a lot of non pet related things as well.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
everything kind of loops into the pets, but there's going to be people making jewelry. There's vendors that are coming that are already having the jewelry on their tables, but there's also specifically accessories by Lex is specifically crystal rock kind of jewelry, as well as
Okay.
she has some other artwork. Um, my partner Maddie, she's Maddie's Lovely Loops. She does crochet, a lot of like little plushies, crochet plushies.
Okay, awesome.
Um, there's Poked by Maddie, which is actually a piercer, like one of those pop-up piercers, and
Oh,
she's
you're
going to
gonna
be
have
selling.
someone there doing piercings?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, I was like thinking about it if that was worthwhile, but then a lot of reptile people have piercings. Can't deny
You
it.
know
So
what? If I've heard like when they do those pop-up tattoo peoples too at like some of the other expos. Not I haven't heard of one at a reptile expo, but they will do at some other expos they'll have the pop-up tattoo where they have a sheet of like different set tattoos, like pre-designed ones, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
you can get it and there's like a set price and they get sold out for the day. Like that chair is so busy.
yeah, it
We
really is.
Looking into the
had,
future, right? Maybe we'll get a tattoo person on there, and they'll have like a little snake and a little gecko, like different things you can get.
yeah, no, that would have already happened if my Maddie had her way. I didn't. Well, I was like, well, let's just see the piercer first. Like, it was the first person. The
Yeah.
tattoo. We had somebody that was looking at doing henna tattoos, but they they just haven't confirmed yet, and I don't think they're going to, honestly.
Okay.
But I was thinking about the tattoo as well. It was both of them, but I mean, a piercing's a little bit less commitment if you think about it, because if you don't like your piercing, you can just let it grow back.
Yeah.
The
You just take it
tattoo is a
out.
little more permanent.
No, that's awesome. And is there anyone there that's going to be doing things like I know that there's some people that concentrate on like some more obscure stuff, like you'll have like you know, I don't know the right term for it, like the oddities, I guess, where you're having like the skeleton kind of set up or the pin
I
bugs or
I am waiting for a response from the person that actually does
okay.
that,
Okay.
and I'm hoping because they reached out to me, so I'm
Okay.
hoping they get back to me because I sent them the forms and stuff. I hope it just didn't get lost in the email transfers
Okay.
because it would be cool. Like we do like those too.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I think I'm excited to see it unfold. I like, and I commend you for all the work that you're putting into it because I think it's going to be a huge, valuable event for everybody in this area, anyways. And there's so many plus sides to it, you know, like where you have the education piece, you have the networking piece, you have the opportunity for people for growth and being able to, you know,
experience.
experience it. I think and you know, individuals that don't want to drive all the way to Toronto necessarily to go to a bigger expo, they have another place closer to home that they can go with maybe less people, and you know, and I'd like to see. I really hope it, and I'm sure it will be very successful, and to see how it's going to grow throughout the
I
years.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I was going to touch on. Is like, yeah, no, it's because when you talk to people up here, especially, they don't like driving in Ottawa,
Hmm.
and it's a completely foreign concept to drive in Toronto. So
Yeah.
a lot of people don't come to these events down in the big cities like us Northerners because a lot of them are scared to drive in the big cities.
Hmm.
And I mean, we've both been in the big cities. Nobody wants to drive in the big cities.
Yeah. Who
It's not
does?
fun, even if we only do it if we have to. We don't sit there actively planning a way to torture ourselves. And
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, Cassandra says it sounds like it's gonna a great event.
yeah,
Let's shift gears and look at some of the geckos that you have. So part of the segment usually like the normally what we do is look at your top 5 fave geckos, talk about that and look at your projects. So your main focus for Greenscape Geckos is crested geckos, I imagine.
yeah.
And I'll bring up the little number 1 gecko here. So who's this guy and tell us about him
To
or
be
her.
honest, he hasn't been named yet, but he is a keeper. He's definitely going to be a holdback. So that was come out of a pairing from Lindsay and Satan, and
Yeah.
I believe it's an empty back lily white. It's got the like almost it's got the base pattern of the top, and then it's got the pinning that's kind of bleeding in, splotching out.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see because he's only I think 9 grams right now. So I'm excited to see what he's looked like by 40 grams. If that's going to be more dramatic or maybe it'll just bleed away after with
Yeah.
age. And yeah, no, he was quite an
So this is
interesting
one that
gecko.
you produced last season
Yes,
or
last season.
okay. Awesome. So definitely a keeper to grow up and see. So the hope I guess for this one would be to raise and to continue to work in empty back projects or what's the focus
He
and
will
goal?
be. I'm kind of like at a crossroad. I'm going to see how he grows up, and then I'm going to decide. I'm at a crossroad between the cappuccino projects that I've been working on, which I should have
Okay.
sent you a picture of cappuccinos, but I didn't think
You're
of that.
keeping those hush.
It's not even that hush, but it's just I forgot about them because I have a little baby. Anyways, so I'm kind of split on the empty back and cappuccino, or do I want to just do both and have empty back and the cappuccino projects all thrown in together? So I think there's some potential with that as well, because as far as I've seen online, there hasn't been too many empty back cappuccinos,
Yeah. No,
and I
that's
think that would make it interesting for the pinning, especially.
yeah, no, for sure. I've talked about it many times. Empty back lilies are one of my projects too, so I'm a sucker for an empty back lily. Those are one of my faves, and
And
it's
I'm
really
hoping I can
exciting to
get more
see.
of them.
Sorry.
I said, and I really hope I get more of them.
Yeah, and it's exciting too because like this one, I guess would be with the new lingo would be a head empty back, right? Because they flip flop all the time between empty back and super empty back. So just to clarify for everybody, this would be a het empty
Yeah.
back lily and not the super empty back. So
Yeah.
exciting to see once you start bringing in more of empty back into it, what a super empty back lily is going to look like.
Yeah, and there hasn't been any real good pictures online of them. I'm sure you're also in the groups and stuff.
Yeah,
I just don't
no,
come across anything that really sells yourself on super empty back lily white.
I've seen a lot of super stripe stuff pop up recently.
Yeah, that seems to be taking off, like the king stripe, I think.
Yeah, but not quite the same.
No, it's not. And this
So who's
boy is
this?
Satan.
There's Satan.
Yeah, he's also the mainstay of the logo as well. He's one of my first Crested Geckos I got,
Okay.
and I mean, personally, I just fell in love with him, and at the time, there was nothing like it that I've ever seen in Crested Geckos, because you always got the tigers, the Harley Quinns, and this is back
Yeah.
when Chevron was a thing. And there was always those, but you never saw something quite like this. So I swooped him up the second I saw him, and I traded him for a tarantula, actually. Um, and I'd say I got the better end of the stick, because
I was gonna say you got the better deal. Depending on what the tarantula was.
it was a nice tarantula, but it was a male, and I knew it was going to pass, and the person wanted him. I was like, for a breeding, and I said, sure. I
Okay.
mean,
There you go.
at the time, the ones that was a little bit rare, so it was hard. It was worthwhile in his mind, and it was worthwhile in my mind.
Awesome.
So he's been with me for quite a few years now. He's coming to the end of his breeding time too, I think. I think I'm going to get a couple more season out of him, because he's still vigor and ready.
Yeah, you're showing me when we met when we were chatting before that he's definitely, looking for for
He
attention where
wants
he
a
can get
mate.
it.
He's not getting it this year. I'm not breeding him. He's taking a year off. I was thinking about breeding him this year, but then I got into the cappuccinos, and I was like, well, I'm a sucker now. I'm stuck into the cappuccinos, because I don't want to produce too many babies in one year. I like to keep it predictable.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So what projects are you looking when you bring him back into the breeding rounds next year? Is he going to be focusing still on lily empty backs or the cap
I'm
stuff
gonna
or
see if he's gonna be willing to do a Lily empty back. I'm hoping at some point to get a Lily empty back for him
okay?
separately. That's not from my lineage, so I can, breed him out and see if that empty backs are compatible, because there's some compatibility issues with the different lines of empty back, it seems,
Yeah.
after talking to some people. So hopefully they're compatible, and I can produce with him, knowing that he's empty back, and getting one that I know is also empty back. I can produce a proper super empty back Lily White,
Mhm.
in theory. And then I would like to also bring him the empty back, like I said, into the cappuccino projects. So if I have a female cappuccino, I'm gonna try throw at that and see what that produces, because he's got a really nice dark base with low
Yeah.
patterning, which I think would really complement the cappuccinos, because if you look at what the underneath patterns being so red on them, I
Yeah.
think it might produce a really high reddish orangish gecko out of that. That's just a theory, but I would like to prove it,
Well, that's awesome.
because I noticed a lot of his babies have the orange tips to them as well.
Okay.
I don't know if you've noticed that in your empty backs, that the empty backs
It
seem to carry that orange tip a lot.
it varies. So, I've had some of my lily white empty back stuff is either crisp white, and I have a couple of them that have orange hues. And then the ones that I've hatched out that are not lily, there's one that is like the pattern is very orange on it. And it almost does like an ombre where it's like super dark orange and then it fades as it goes down. So I have definitely noticed a trend of it being into the empty backs.
Yeah. And no, it would be interesting to see how this plays out in a few years. The
Yeah,
sad thing is a lot of this takes time. However
yeah.
much it would be fun to just have it all done in a year, you gotta wait, and then you gotta hope that the odd gods are in your favor, and you're gonna hatch out what you want.
Yeah, and then you have, it was so many years where people weren't really paying as much attention to the genetics that I can only imagine how many things are stacked within all the geckos that you just don't know and that you won't see until you start breeding it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's one reason I really like him is he's very plain. Like
Yeah.
visually, he doesn't have a lot going on. He's obviously got the pinstripe and the empty back, but outside of that, he's dark base and he's a very plain looking gecko outside of that, which is I'm hopeful means it's going to be a lot easier to see what's in there. And I know he's had Phantom because he's
Okay.
produced a Phantom. So there's also Phantom to throw in there as well.
Okay. Awesome. We'll go and so who's this one?
This is Lilith. She's
Okay.
my lavender. I picked her up a few years ago out of Ottawa from somebody getting rid of their collection. And I saw her posted online. She didn't look this gray when I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, seeing all the pictures of people with really high lavender geckos, I'm like, she really looks like that. Let's just
Mm-hmm.
go and pick her up. And like when I picked her up, she was this gray. I'm like, this is the perfect gecko, like for what I would like, because I like that gray gecko look to it. Like you don't see
Yeah.
this very often, this level of lavender.
Yeah.
And some of her babies have also picked it up. I would say most of her babies have picked it up, so it's almost dominant out of her. If not, it's
So
really good odds.
what are they like? So her hatchlings and stuff, because I would imagine I know some of them when they get older, they just don't really fire up as much, and sometimes it's a bit difficult. If you're getting an older gecko and you're not able to see what the full fire up, what to expect when you're breeding. So what are you finding with the hatchlings like that are
They actually are pretty
having
high
her
pattern.
color range?
They're pretty high pattern, but they all got the grayish to them.
Okay.
See if anybody's out and about. Maybe I'll grab one. But they all kept her lavender look to them, but
Okay.
they're a lot more patterned than her. So I assume her patterning has faded, but the level
Okay.
of gray has stuck around. So I think it's in the base color for them.
Gotcha.
For them.
And what's your plans? Is she producing this season as well, or?
Yeah, she's producing cappuccinos this season, actually.
Okay, awesome.
So she's produced me one cappuccino, which it's just a baby. If it's not out and about, I'm not gonna scare it. I really did want to show it off because it's a cappuccino. Who doesn't love to show them off? And like the cappuccino has really uh played out really well for the probably see it.
Awesome.
But like her gray has benefited the cappuccino really well. Because
Okay.
like the fire down for this cap is way grayer than I've seen other caps,
Okay.
and I'm really hoping out of them they're gonna be good.
Jumpy little things, when they're young.
Yeah, just wee little babies. I think he was 2.5 grams last time I weighed him. He's only like a month old now,
Yeah.
so yeah, he hasn't quite hasn't quite tamed out. I've noticed that a lot of them once they hit that 7-8 grams, they start to tame out where you can handle them more reliably. They're not in that I'm gonna die every 10 seconds mode. And once you start
Awesome.
feeding them too, like Tom feeding them, I find a lot of them tame out even faster.
Yeah, they're a little bit more like calm because they know it's coming to them.
Yeah, they're not as scared. Food helps with that, it seems.
Yeah. Calms them down. And here's another lily we got here.
So this is a lily that came out of Satan and Lindsay. And I remember being told when I was talking about producing it, most people told me not to do Satan to to the lily white because I'm going to get these low pattern animals.
Okay.
And I mean, I just had a gut feeling, and I thought,
Does
you know
not
what?
look like a low pattern animal.
I'm like, this is not like Lindsay is a high coverage lily white, but um, the patterning coming out of this as well, I think Satan played a lot of in there as well. So I think there's a lot of interesting pattern in Satan as well that isn't expressed on him because of his pattern, like his natural look to him.
Yeah.
But it's obviously there because it's coming out so strongly. So I have this one and one more that's pretty high pattern and fairly high contrast. Of course, I couldn't get a picture of the contrast, but the little bit of base pattern you can see in it is a lot darker than that picture gives justice to.
Okay.
And then
And
it's
it
got
also
the
said he's Het Phantom too, so it'd be interesting to see, like, maybe that's why there's something with the mix of genetics that you might not necessarily see some pattern and it's a little bit more hidden on him, or
yeah, there's definitely that I think plays a small role in it at least, if not a larger role. And then these geckos like this high pattern, high coverage like this is just so fascinating. I can't like this is I'm hoping that I mean this is only at 9 grams. I'm hoping
Mhm.
in another 40 grams it would be almost completely covered because that lily will just keep creeping. From
Yeah.
a baby, this gecko looked like a low coverage lily, and in the year now I've had him since he hatched, and definitely is creeped and more creeping. This is definitely one that you just gotta love the progression.
That's awesome. Again, I love those lilies.
Yeah, gotta be a sucker for them. And this is Lindsay, so my main breeding female lily white.
Okay.
I picked her up, and uh, she has lineage, and I'm just drawing a blank on who it was now. Um, yeah, no, I'm drawing a blank on who the lineage is. But
That's
I
okay.
picked her up down in Lindsay, actually, Ontario. She picked up
Lindsay's
the
from
name
Lindsay.
Lindsay. Um, and I saw her, and I just really liked her patterning, the way that like it almost looked like a reverse Oreo on there. Like it's got the
Yeah.
dark middle, and then she's really white, and then she's got the highlighter of the tangerine too.
Okay.
So it'd be very interesting to see how these babies grow up and if they will also keep that highlighter look to them.
That's awesome. And she's in which projects again? Sorry. She's
She's
gonna
in the
be
empty back, and this year she was prepared to a cappuccino.
That's right.
So
Okay.
hopefully see some fraps out of her. The eggs haven't had. She had a bad year this year. Her first
Mhm.
few eggs weren't fertile, and then her next set of eggs were. And then she hadn't. I was like, okay, well I'm out of the clear. And then the next set of eggs weren't, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on with you, girl.
Yeah.
Are you gonna produce fertile eggs, or are you just playing around today? So I'm hoping that the last few have also been fertile. So hopefully that they'll hatch out well and healthy. And I just she's messing with me this year. I wonder if it's something to do with that heat wave we had early in the
Yeah.
season that might have
Yeah.
messed everything up because it got
So
way
sometimes
hot.
they can do that, right? Like sometimes, like, and I know my husband deals with that too with the ball pythons. You'll expect like the ones that are gonna go, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna cut a clutch of eggs, and it's like, yeah, no, didn't happen. Gotcha.
Yeah, she gave me 16 babies last year, but it
Okay.
was her first season, and I find a lot of times in first season they do one of two things: either produce nothing or produce everything.
Well, yeah, I know. I had one produce like 10 clutches last year. I got 20 hatchlings out of this girl, and it was her very first season.
Yeah, and then
So
sometimes people go, "Oh, I just got this girl. She's the first season, and she's giving me 2 eggs."
yeah, well, it
It's like
happens, right? They're all different in their own way,
exactly,
right?
and
So
it's quite interesting. I find too that they are so different, and the odds were very in my favor this year. So
okay,
and last year. So my first egg I hatched was a cappuccino.
okay,
So that was a kind of an exciting, it's like booyah, first egg, first egg of the season is a cappuccino right off the hop. And then last year I hatched 8 lilies in a row.
okay.
Like that's
Yeah, yeah.
unbelievable odds
So
for
you
only
won the
producing.
Lily lottery.
Yeah, for one lily, I produced 8 in a row, and then like the next 8 were regulars. So I mean, it wasn't quite perfect, but I think that was pretty. I had the 50% odd rate in the beginning in my favor, and then I had to prove that long term it doesn't play out that well.
Yeah. So aside from the empty backs and the cappuccinos, is there like anything else that you're looking forward to, like projects you're getting into, or is there a different like a new direction, something new that's you're looking for in the future? Like what's the goal
I'm
moving forward?
I'm hoping to get into stables. I have a
Okay.
buddy in Canada who has one now, and then I'm also hoping to get into Xanthic and throw that.
Mhm.
We were talking yesterday how the caps and the Zabel projects have a lot more white pattern, and it's a lot
Yeah.
easier to tell who has the white pattern to throw at
Hmm.
the Xanthic to get that more high pattern Xanthic. So
Hmm.
I would really like that really high pattern black and white animal,
Yeah.
and that's kind of one of the also goals in the near future, hopefully. And then the other thing I like to breed for is the reason why I bred Lilith was the personality. I like to have geckos that are calmer, that keep their tails, because I don't, knock on wood, I don't have a single drop tail other than Satan, but he came that way.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that in the future I would have a gecko line that is less likely to drop their tails, more handleable, because that's an issue some people have with their geckos. They can't handle them.
Yeah. Some of them can be just complete spaz.
Yeah. And part of that is like personal, like you have to put effort in to train them, but the other part of it is also you have to come from good genetics that are predisposed to be a calmer, more tame, more handleable gecko.
Yeah. The so if people want to find you, where can they find you online? Like you have your own website or is it on Instagram or
I was working on a website, but it's still not ready for the public. And
okay.
then, so I'm using Facebook and Instagram mainly, and then as well as YouTube a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not great on YouTube. I'm just doing it for fun. I'm not the best YouTuber. I'm hoping to produce some videos, especially geared more towards my isopod business side of it,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are interested in isopods, and every time I sell them, people are asking me questions. It'd be a lot nicer if I can direct them to a video and give them a good explanation right there, and then they can ask me the more specific questions, narrow it down.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you sent me some isopod things and we're running low on time now, but well, I'll maybe post some isopod pictures because you also do a whole bunch of different isopods and some less common ones as well, right?
Yeah, I'm getting into more and more of the rare ones. So I initially started out with the ones mainly for bioactive, and now
Mhm.
I'm getting into a lot more of like the duckies, the different Cabira species, and then some of the giants. I have titans, so the big 1 inch isopods. They're beautiful. And
Yeah.
then I'm also hoping in the near future to get into snake breeding to a small extent. I was telling you about how I would like to get into breeding Cinnalone milk snakes,
Okay.
and just because I'm smart, I don't know. And this is Milky, my Cinnalone.
On. There you go.
And he's a little more hyper than yesterday. I remember yesterday he was just balled up nice and calm. I guess this morning I woke him up, so he's not as happy.
A little bit more energy.
But he's still a pretty handleable snake, and that's what I like about the Cinnalones. They are more calm, handleable, and predictable of the milk snakes, where you don't have these crazy flighty Nelsons and stuff. And the Publins, they lose their colors, I find, over time. They don't look as nice. He still
Okay.
is fully iridescent, fully, truly red still. But there's nobody I have come across breeding them up here other than I think Tails and Scales.
Okay.
And even them, I don't like. They almost never have any in stock. So I would like to do it as a passion project, just to have at least say I could do it,
Yeah.
and then go from there. I don't think I would become a big snake breeder personally.
Yeah.
There's a lot in that, right? And they need bigger habitats. The bigger commitment, and it's just not quite my thing. I'd rather buy them and support. Um, people that are producing them that do a much better job than I would.
Well, like, and like you're saying, they're not a common snake species to find in Canada. So sometimes, like, if you do small, breeding projects like that with things that are less uncommon, it's kind of nice because you're able to provide people who are really interested in those species and wanting to get one as a pet, the opportunity that they can get their hands on it.
Exactly, and that's something that you find kind of harder. Like, there's a lot of niche species that have only, like, it's weird because it seems like there's literally a continental divide, because there's some species that are really common out in the west, and they
Yeah,
don't have them, like, we don't have too many over here, and there's some over here that we have lots of, and there's nothing over there. So it's
yeah.
weird in Canada, we have that continental divide between prairies where just, I guess, nothing gets across Manitoba. After
Nothing
spending
travels.
a lot of time in Manitoba, I can tell you that Manitoba is not a place you want to spend too much time. You can see all of Manitoba in 10 minutes.
Right.
It's a 2-hour drive, and you've seen everything. There's nothing new. So no,
So
it's definitely very interesting.
So if anyone wants to check out isopods and geckos, check out it's Greenspace Geckos right on Instagram.
Yep,
And website coming soon.
hopefully.
And
Just
if anyone's in the area, please go and take the time to check out the Ottawa Valley Reptile and Plant Expo. It's on August 11th from 9 to 5 Eastern Time. It's in Renfrew. And you have the details too. It's on Facebook and it's also on your Instagram, right?
exactly, and I'm hoping to have radio ads and a bunch of other advertisement coming out soon.
Oh, that's awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
thank you very
that'd be
much
great.
for joining us today, and it was an awesome chat. And I look forward to to visiting the expo and checking it out.
For sure. Thank you for
And
all the support. Like, all the support really helps. It just, and everyone else that has helped out, this is just, it's great. Like, we have the only confirmed sponsor at the time of this is Incogni Inverts. He's
Mhm.
doing the isopods for the build off.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
So he's the only confirmed sponsor. So if anybody else that is watching this that wants to sponsor the event, reach out. Be much appreciated.
Yeah. So
And
call out for sponsors, and I think after this too, I'll share it on my stories and stuff, and send them your way for call out for sponsors. Cassandra is saying, wishing you all the luck on the new expo.
thank you very
And
much.
Tammy, yeah, thank you both. Have a great Sunday. Have a good Sunday, Tammy. And my husband's saying you don't cross Manitoba. LOL.
It's like that whole, like, conspiracy Manitoba isn't real.
Manitoba doesn't exist. Just
Like,
kidding.
I spent 6 years there. I think I know if it exists.
All right. Well, I'm going to put you
Yeah.
backstage, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much too.
Bye. All right, guys, that was awesome. And if you have a chance to go check out his page and check out all the information, definitely, I definitely would recommend going to see. There's a whole bunch of vendors that are going to be participating, and a lot of local people. And it just, you get to meet people too, and expand on your networks. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your Sunday, and have an awesome week. And see you next Sunday.
Shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you.